Hey guys, Virgin Vinyl with you again. Today I've got probably my favorite album from this band. It's a tie between this and Nursery Crime, and that is Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. So I picked up this a little while ago, a few weeks back, and this is a Israeli pressing from 1978. It's pretty beat up, but 70 shekels is a pretty decent price, and the records play pretty nice. They're a bit crackly, get a bit of the crackle sound, but it's okay. It's not it's not really that bad. So, of course, this is a gatefold you're probably familiar with. It's got all the story of Rael, the Puerto Rican kid who's going on this wild adventure through New York City. And this is an absolutely incredible album. I just finished re-listening to it again now, the whole thing through. Quite often I don't get past the first disc just because of time constraints. And also I've always sort of favored that disc, but listening to the second one again today just reminded me how much great stuff is on that side as well. Genesis is a really interesting band because, as everybody knows, you've got the full-blown prog era, the Peter Gabriel era, which finished with this album, which is really quite different from what they became. They sort of they continued on with the prog with Phil Collins and sort of Steve Hackett coming a little bit more to the fore on the next few albums until he left. And then they really headed down the pop road and, had a lot of success in that field. And Peter Gabriel, he went off and, created a whole new sort of career for himself. And that kind of went into the pop world as well, except a little bit different. I think the way Peter Gabriel did it, it was more sort of like art rock pop, kind of, especially those first few albums, those first sort of 4 albums are really interesting and very cool. I love his early, I like all of his albums actually. I don't really know past Us that well. I still sort of have to spend more time with them, but I know all these albums up to Us pretty well. And I really like the third one and the first one and the fourth one. They're all great. They're all really good. Anyway, this something for me, even though I do like Trick of the Tail and Wind and Wuthering and even some of the pop Genesis stuff, for me, Genesis is really all about the Peter Gabriel era. I just feel like that when he was in the band, he gave them that, the art, he's kind of got that weirdo factor that makes it awesome, And like a band like Genesis, like sometimes musically, it sounds a little safe or something, or it sounds a little like, posh boys making prog, and which is pretty much like all the big prog bands were posh boys making this incredible artistic music. But I don't know if I'm expressing this rightly. I mean, obviously the band itself is incredible, and I love Rutherford's bass lines, and Phil Collins does a great job on the drums, and Hackett I always felt was like underutilized, and he's such a great guitarist and unique he's got such a unique approach. So it would have been nice if they'd sort of let him unleash a little bit more in the earlier albums, because they are extremely piano heavy, keyboard heavy, mellotron heavy, all of that stuff. This album is really interesting because they always had that really heavy English aesthetic going on their other albums, Selling England by the Pound and Nursery Crime and Foxtrot. It's very embedded in the sound and in the music and in Peter Gabriel's lyrics. And when they got to this album, it's really tapping into sort of the American sort of vision of contemporary music at that time, and yet still, through the lens of a British band, through Genesis, through their vision. So it's a really interesting combination that you have this British band writing a story about an adventure in New York City through the eyes of a Puerto Rican man. Something like very, very unusual, very unique, very cool. I mean, I've said, I think, on the Nursery Rhyme video that I would, it's between this and that album. That album for me is sort of a little bit more perfect from start to finish. This one, it's very close to perfect. I have criticized the fourth side of this album, but, yeah, it does sag a little bit. That's the thing. It's just shy of perfection for me, this album, but very close. I mean, it's like 98%, it's like a very, 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 very good, great masterpiece, and I absolutely love it. And I think it is my favorite, even with the sagging, even with the imperfections, because when you've got like songs like The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Fly on a Windscreen, In the Cage, what an incredible, Lily White Lilith, The Lamia. I mean, it's just so much incredible, Carpet Crawlers. That's the Carpet Crawl. Sorry, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible stuff. It's really interesting to think what they would have done if Peter Gabriel had stayed in the band and they'd continued on, if it would have been sort of more of this, or, because with Trick of the Tail, they kind of went back to more of a selling England by the pound kind of aesthetic with that one, and same with Wind and Wuthering. It's kind of more it's like, that's like, those two albums are more of a natural continuation of what they had been doing before they made this. This one's really like an anomaly, and I guess we'll never know, but it ended up working out well for both parties, right? Obviously, so Genesis went on to make truckloads of money with their massive hits, with like Duke and Abacab and all of those albums, and Peter Gabriel went on to make a ton of money as well with So and Us and all these big hits, like Sledgehammer and Steam and stuff like that, but also to create like a great catalog of really artistic and unique albums with his first 4 albums, which I love. They're kind of like, they remind me of that sort of, the Berlin era Bowie stuff, like Low and Lodger and those kind of albums. It reminds me a little bit of that. Anyway, we're not talking about Peter Gabriel, we're talking about Genesis. The Lamb Lies Down on the Broadway, absolutely masterpiece of an album. Super happy to have a copy of it, even if it's a bit old and crackly. I am like, as I've told you, I am a vinyl virgin. That's why the channel is named that way. And so I'm learning along the way, like, about vinyl. And, so far my observations are that the older pressings seem to sound way better, even if they are crackly and a bit dirty sounding. They seem to be like mastered better or something. Like they seem to be a bit louder and clearer or something. I don't know. I've only got like about 65 albums, something like that. So I don't have like on vinyl, that is. So maybe as my collection grows and I get more brand new stuff, maybe my opinion will change. But so far, I have, like, all my other Genesis albums that I have are all old copies, all either original pressings or, from the 70s pressings. And the only one I have, which is brand new, which I bought, is Foxtrot. And even though it's cleaner, when I put the needle down, it's a cleaner sound. But it just, I don't know, maybe it's a psychological thing, and I'm just thinking like, I just don't get the same feel out of the sound of that record as I do with the old pressings. The old pressings seem to give me more, I don't know, warmth, or I hate to use that word because everybody like, oh, the vinyl warmth thing is bullshit, but there's some, I don't know, I think they just knew how to sort of record for vinyl back in those days or something, or they knew how to press the record, master it for vinyl, or whatever they needed to do. Anyway, that could be a whole bunch of bullshit. I'm not claiming to be an authority on it. That's just how I feel about it. Anyway, guys, amazing album, masterpiece, and I'll see you tomorrow.